So that concludes the Travis Zajac retirement press conference. We welcome you back into the PlayUp Studio. I am Sam Kasan and joined by Amanda Stein. Amanda, something he went out there when he was talking about the fans and how he wanted to be remembered. He said he wanted to be remembered as a guy who left it all on the ice and a guy who never took a shortcut, played the game the right way. Well, looking back on this, 15 years in the league, 1,024 games played for the Devils, fourth in franchise history, 202 goals, that's tied for third in franchise history, 348 assists, that's fifth, and then 550 points, ranking third. He's up there, obviously, in a lot of things, 15 years, as we can go on and on and on. What is Travis Zajac's legacy, and how do you think he will be remembered?
Well, he will just be remembered as the hardworking, honest player who, you use that cliche, played the game the right way. But that's really who Travis was and is. All those stats that you just mentioned, I really like about those, not only are the accomplishments, but he went about it so quietly. I don't know if necessarily you talk to a fan of hockey who would realize just how high on these lists someone like Travis Zajac is. He's really known for his, his defensive play and for his face-offs, but he's just a hard-working, honest guy, and you can see that that has trickled down into this next generation of talent that's coming through the pipeline. He probably doesn't like this day very much because it's all about him. But he's definitely not that type of person. But I'm glad that we, as a franchise, and he, with his family, can just give him this moment that he so readily deserves.
And this moment may have been delayed a year because after the season, he did consider coming back and either signing. He said Lou Lamoriello from the Islanders and obviously Tommy Fitzgerald from the Devils reached out to him about returning. But he said he's at peace of his decision and he just ran out of gas. And plus, the COVID kind of gave him a chance to spend more time with his family. He realized how valuable that was. How important was that kind of decision process for him when he finally decided to hang on? Because it's not an easy decision for any player.
No, it's not. But I also don't think it was that hard for Travis just because his body was telling him what he needed to know. And the time that he got to spend with his 3 kids and his wife that you normally wouldn't get during a hockey season was enough for him to realize that this is where he wants to be. He talked about it in the press conference, not being able to, get up that drive and that stamina to get ready for an NHL season. And so that's kind of your body talking. And then the other side is making that decision as a family. He got to make this decision on his own. It's not every day that a player who's been in the league for 15 years, even longer than that, goes out on their own terms. He said that Lou Lamoriello reached out to him to rejoin the Islanders. He said that wouldn't have been an option even if he were going to play because the only way he'd come back to play is with New Jersey. Tom Fitzgerald did reach out, but ultimately, this is the right decision, and he's at peace with it, as you mentioned, as he mentioned. And that's the most important part about this, to be able to go out on your own terms, happy and healthy, and still be a part of the franchise in some capacity. I know that means a great deal to Travis and his family.
You mentioned his family was obviously a family decision. You don't make that decision on your own. And he was with his family during the 1,000th game with the Devils, but there were no fans in the stadium, so, of course, the Devils are going to honor him. As you say, he loves the attention, right? But they are going to honor him and recognize him in front of the fans on March 10th, 2022 against Winnipeg, fittingly, where he's from, and fittingly because really the city of Winnipeg raised him and molded a lot of who his character is.
Yeah, it is, and it's very similar to the type of people that, live here in New Jersey and call New Jersey home. Blue-collar, hardworking people who just are constantly putting their best foot forward. That's who Travis is. That's who you become when you're raised in Winnipeg, and what he's done for this franchise and in this community. And I think that that's the most important part, is that those two places, Winnipeg and here in New Jersey, have just really shaped who he is. And he said it before that his family knows no other life than being in New Jersey. His 3 kids were born here. He and his wife came down here before they were married as a couple when they were or just in their early 20s. So they've raised themselves here. They've raised a family here. And even though they did say that they did build a place back home in Winnipeg, New Jersey will be home for them for the foreseeable future.
Which is pretty amazing because, as he'd said his entire life, and you said they built a home, they anticipated going back to Jersey. But you're right, he born in Winnipeg, raised in Jersey, because it's in this city, in this state, where he became a man, he became an adult. He was only 21 years old when he arrived in New Jersey. He became a man, became a husband, a father, a teammate, and now he's in New Jersey, and he's really, as the years went by, embedded himself into the community.
Yeah, absolutely. He would always be the first one to, volunteer to do a fan event or, a community event or going to see kids or talking to kids, anything like that. He's always put himself in that position where he loves to give back in that respect. And he talked about it in the press conference, right? The game has given him so much. This state has given him so much. It has given him what he had worked for his entire life. And so for him to give back, that's the least that he can do, and he knows that, and the family knows that. And we heard from managing partner David Blitzer also talking about that. What a better person to have involved in your community as we grow the game here in New Jersey than Travis Zajac, someone who truly represents the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, as you said, David Blitzer said it's not a pro forma thing when he goes out to these things.
No.
He deeply cares about it. And he brought up an instance going to a school in Newark, helping build this rink so that the kids can play and playing with the kids, seeing the smiles on their face, which going to schools and building rinks might be very much in his future because he is joining the hockey youth department, trying to help grow the game in the area, which is, I think, also says a lot about him and his love for just the state of Jersey, the city of Newark, all that is, because a lot of these players, they retire and then they become a developmental coach or go into coaching or something, and they're working more on the hockey side, and he will be doing that, obviously, and a great guy to have on your development side, but he also wants to be more involved in the community, and that just speaks to the fact that not only is New Jersey his home, but he identifies as one of us.
Absolutely, and all his kids play hockey. I mean, the youngest one, she's going to be getting into it this next year. So, he's at the rinks. When I had the privilege of going to spend time with he and his family when he made this decision, Travis did have to leave at one point with their young son, Zenon, because Zenon had to go off to play hockey, and Travis, packed up the car and they went on their way. So it's just, he's returned to a life that is dad life, and he'll still be in rinks. He'll still be willing to talk to anyone about hockey, but I think he really is at the point where he is where he wants to be.
So obviously we're closing the career for Travis Zajac, and we're going to close the show. Any final thoughts that you have, whether about his life, his memories, career, anything ringing a bell?
I just feel so fortunate to have joined the franchise 5 years ago and have someone like Travis there, welcomed me with open arms, made me feel a part of the team. And, it's such a unique experience to be able to sit down with a player and be the person who conducts that interview once they've made that final decision. I felt really honored for that privilege and to be able to speak to him. But also just, this to me is the passing of the baton. Travis Zajac was the last connection on this roster between the teams of the past and heading into this new generation with Nico and Jack and Mackenzie and Ty. He's the last one. And so now it's almost like this is the moment where he's handing the franchise fully over. Everyone's done their stuff in the past, but now you guys got to take it and run with it.
Well, a quick note there. I remember you asked him about working with those guys, and the one thing he said was he wanted them to respect the logo and to realize that the New Jersey Devils are a family. So whether it's the general manager or one of the guys sweeping the rinks, we're all one big family was his message to all those guys. So obviously that speaks not only to him, but the legacy he leaves here. And so with that, we want to wish, obviously, the best of luck to Travis Zajac and his future endeavors and congratulate him on a great career and retirement. So we're going to wrap up the show here. That is the end of Travis Zajac's playing career and the end of our show today. For Amanda Stein, I'm Sam Kasan, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.